and I actually just finished the last song, the last demo about a month ago.
Do you want to give any spoilers about it, or is there?
Well, it's thematic. I'm big into mythology, and I always
Mm.
thought that would be a cool place to explore songwriting.
Any particular mythology, or?
Yeah, basically we're doing the Noah's Ark, but the Sumerian version.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
so
really
the
cool.
much older Noah's Ark story. I just find that the storytelling in those kinds of myths are amazing, and it would be very fun to put metal behind it and get something very visceral. The Reckoning was something that was very emotional to me. There were several times where I just cried after I listened to,
Yeah.
specifically Horizon, because it was such an emotionally draining album for me. So it's nice to kind of take a step back and still be invested emotionally, but really just be able to be creative for creative's sake. I get to portray somebody else's feelings now rather than my own, which is really, really cool because I'm basically the album's from the main character's point of view. His name's Atrahasis, and started writing from his point of view. What would he be thinking? What would he be seeing? What would he be dealing with rather than what am I dealing with right now? So
Which is often a much more difficult question to answer, isn't
it? Yeah. And it's nice for me to be able to take a step back, but still be just as engaged as I was in the first album.
Yeah.
So.
And so in the songwriting process, it still is it's you sitting around doing your compositions, or are you having a collaborative session with somebody?
No, it's just me.
It's just you. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's pretty intense. It's nice because I've been working on album number 2 since album number 1 came out.
Yeah.
Album number 1 came out in October of 2014, and I started working on the second album November of 2014. So yeah, right, just like that. So for me, if I'm not writing, I'm not a successful player.
Yeah.
And that's just a personal thing of mine. So
you feel stagnant if you're not producing something.
Yeah, I love being creative, and if I'm not being creative, I'm not engaging what needs to be engaged. So the fact that I've been working on this for a long time allows me to make mistakes, allows me to write a whole song and then go, I don't like it, and then throw it out and write something else that maybe demonstrates what I was actually going for a little bit better. Where with The Reckoning, I didn't have that time to mess around. It was, if I didn't like the song, too bad, and I just got really lucky that I liked them all, so I think that's the coolest part, is that I do have this extra time to mess around. This album has a lot more, it's a lot bigger sounding, so it has a lot more strings to it. There's just a lot more different instruments that I never would have dreamed of doing until I got into the studio, where now I have the tools and the capability of doing it. So it just opens up my songwriting capabilities like crazy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Do you perform at all?
No. That's the one thing that I would absolutely kill to get an opportunity to do. It's hard being one person. Not a lot of people will pay to see one person with a lot of backing tracks, and as opposed to a band. But I'm still working on it. I'm still throwing out small promotional stuff to venues, and maybe one day one of them will click. But I do know that the biggest reason is just because I'm one person.
Yeah. Do you know anybody else in the metal community in Peterborough, or?
I don't know a whole lot, honestly. It's
Are you from Peterborough?
I'm not from Peterborough.
Okay. You're excused then.
I'm from Bradford, so it's 2 hours away.
Yeah. And what brought you here?
Trent.
You're a student.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is something that you do to help you stay sane as a student, I imagine. In some ways.
It is a form of therapy for me. So it was a lot going on that year.
I bet.
On top of school, but no, Trent is a beautiful university, and
you don't need to be tactful. I know.
No, it really, really is, and it just, Uh, I don't know. It's just nice to
It's
be able
tough
to
to
write here.
yeah, yeah,
You know?
and it's tough sometimes. I find the student community has a tough time breaking into whatever local musician
Oh,
scene
we're
there
all
is, and
broke.
it's yeah, yeah.
We're all broke. Like, I don't even want to buy my own tickets. Are you kidding me? Like, they'd be expensive, man. Like,
There is a great metal scene in Peterborough, from what I'm aware of. This
yeah.
is
Well,
people are insular in
yeah.
this town in
Matt was
ways
telling
they
me
don't.
about a few of them, so I definitely have to check them a few bands out and get in contact with, maybe set up a jam session or something and just
Yeah,
get social. It's so hard to be social. I think first of all, I have a really hard time with it naturally.
hmm
But on top of that, you have exams to worry about, you have essays to worry about. So it's, I am writing
full time.
material for a band's worth and trying to keep balanced with school.
Yeah,
So there is time is definitely an issue at this point. But I graduate at the end of this year, so hopefully that'll open up a
great.
lot more opportunities for me.
Do you plan to stay in Peterborough or
Well, not for at least the first couple of years. I do plan on going back home,
to
working like
Bradford?
crazy, probably teaching guitar, because I did have my own business in high school, and it was unbelievably successful. So I'm definitely going to go back into that vein of work,
Great.
which will keep me playing and keep me engaged, but also allow me to teach, which I absolutely love. So
So is it just one-on-one lessons or
yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And who was your clientele normally?
Well, it varies. One of my longest time students, like I started teaching when I was in grade 9,
Okay.
and his name's Alex, and I've had him since I was in grade 9, and he's been, he didn't know how to pick up a pick properly, and now he's like interested in learning my songs, which is crazy. Um, but so I get kids,
Mhm.
kind of at 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
But I also get a lot of grade 9, 10s, and then older adults, you know, uh, kind of that 28 to 40 range.
Yep.
So yeah, I could have a back-to-back student where one's 7 and the next one's 40, which is awesome and just makes me a better teacher.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That must be exceptionally rewarding.
yeah, I love it. It's there's nothing greater than teaching something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
So if I can make somebody fall in love with the instrument exactly how I fell in love with the instrument, then I've done my job.
When did you start learning guitar?
I started learning guitar when I was in grade 7 or grade 8.
Grade 7 or 8?
Um,
Was it always metal? Like when you started, was that something that had been an influence for you musically for a time, or?
yeah, I think more like punk, I think, was where I started.
Mm.
I think the first song I ever learned was something by Sum 41.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Grade 7 and 8,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, I think it was Still Waiting or something. That was the first song I ever learned, but my buddy Jesse, it was grade 7 or 8. Those years blend. Um, at some point, showed me Metallica's "For Whom the Bell Tolls," and like I was blown away. Like I just had never heard anything like that before. And I was like, that sound. How do I get that sound? So like Metallica was definitely like the biggest influence in my songwriting. And as I grew as a songwriter, I just ended up developing my own sound
Yeah.
as I got more and more into metal. But definitely started on that kind of punk, AFI, Sum 41, and then got very into Metallica, and then a little bit heavier into Trivium, and just kind of
Cool.
got heavier from there.
Who would be some of the musicians that you're into nowadays? This
Uh,
past year, like in the, is there any new highlights that you'd like to bring up that have come up in the past year or
well,
so?
they're not really newer bands, but like August Burns Red would be
Okay.
a massive band that I'm into. Parkway Drive,
Okay.
I've seen them in probably a week or so in Toronto.
Cool.
So like those are kind of the big bands that I'm into now, but also you have bands like Periphery and Pomegranate Tiger and all these crazy, crazy bands. So they're definitely, you listen to what they can come out with, and it just pushes you as a musician to challenge yourself and be like, okay, I think I'm okay now, but how can I get way better?
Wait.
Because there's some like just when you're feeling confident as a musician, there's somebody out there that makes you want to throw your guitar into the fire, because they just make you look like you're just basic. Again, you know what I mean? Like you've just never touched a guitar in your life.
But
But
that's a good feeling.
it's a great feeling because it's refreshing. It's nice to kind of get that reminder that you can always be way better. And when you get to be way better, you can always be way better.
Has anybody ever confided that in you? Like they said, "Oh my God, Ben, you made me feel like I want to throw my guitar in the fire today."
I had one guy, and this must have been probably 8 months ago, and like it really resonated with me because I can still remember it clear. I have a terrible memory, but I remember that. Uh, and he commented on my YouTube. I don't know the guy, and he commented on my YouTube video of one of my songs and said, "I just picked up my first guitar because you inspired me to play one."
That was
Like that blew my mind. You know, I
really.
was grinning for like the next month. It was like that is the biggest compliment you could ever pay a musician, besides actually buying their album. But
But
you know,
No.
but the it was just amazing that somebody out there was inspired by something that I had written,
Enough
and
to actually just even start from scratch buying a guitar.
they experienced what I experienced in grade 7.
Yeah.
You know, and instead of Metallica doing it for me, it was me doing it for somebody else, and that's amazing. Like it's just so humbling. You know, there's a lot of talk about like, you know, you need to be way, way better. But then there's also times where you get to kind of celebrate where you are right now.
Yeah, well, and
You
both of
know?
those are like community building in a way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
It's online presence is amazing. And
you did a Kickstarter
yeah.
for this album. What was that experience like?
Uh Nerve wracking.
Yep.
Because like everything else with this album, I had never done it before. I have surrounded myself with a support system that is absolutely ridiculous. People that I have never met before that were excited, that followed me since before that album came out with my old YouTube videos that I've been putting out since I was 13 that I should really delete off my account at some point. But sometimes it's
I
a
like
nice
the
reminder.
discrepancy between
Yeah.
between Bedroom You and Reckoning You.
Yeah,
I think it's great.
it's there's a huge difference. There's just a learning curve there, and at some point I should delete it. But it's a nice reminder of where I was. But I've surrounded myself with an amazing support system. My mom was amazing. My girlfriend has been nothing but the best. And
Does she play music?
she doesn't. She
Okay.
is, which is probably a good thing, honestly. She is completely science oriented.
Okay.
So it's always funny when we're talking to friends and family about, you know, what we do. And she's going, yeah, I'm in forensic science doing this. And she's talking about microbes and like the smallest. And I'm like, I play the drums. Yeah, I hit things for a living. That's what I
Music.
do. Yeah, it's great. I make noise. But she's unbelievable. Her family is unbelievable. And through my family, my friends, her family, her friends, I raised over $2,000,
Cool.
which is crazy.
Yeah. Is there any particular song that you'd like played? I want to choose something that you really want to have played with this interview.
Oh man, I don't know. Because
Okay, well, you don't have to decide right now, but
Horizon definitely.
okay.
I think that one. I had written the album as a way of dealing with my dad's passing. I didn't write the album for my dad. I wrote it for me.
Mhm.
But that song specifically, I wrote for my dad. That was my goodbye to him. But heavy wise, the River Celadon or Belief.
Ben Simon, your album The Reckoning is just past its first anniversary.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for being interviewed today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Cheers.